teacher or anything when you don't try to do your job and to protect the students. It should be the same way as if it was like rendering aid, because what if that child could have got 10 times more hurt? The responsibility would have landed on him because he's responsible for the children. Now, I understand there's but so much that people can do, and a lot of people don't want to engage and get involved with it. But understand, it's just like driving a city bus. It's just like being a public, a public official, any type of thing that when you have to deal with the public, you're going to have to know how to engage with them. And if you can't handle that, then you're in the wrong job. That's why background checks should be a lot more thorough.
Hey, do you think they doing background checks on these bus drivers?
Well, no, I'm pretty sure they do their background check and they do their due diligence as much as they can. But there's really no way to determine a person's character by looking at their resume. You understand, until a situation of something like this occurs or you have more interaction. Clearly, you can see that he's only able to do his job, and that's to get the kids on the bus and to drive. Any other interference he don't want to be involved with. And that's not a type of person that you want to be able to be around your kids. Because he allowed a parent to come up on the bus and there was no protection for that other student.
Somebody said, I knew a chick who went to prison after her daughter was attacked by a gang of girls. The mom tried to help jump in and she got hit. She hit one of the girls with her car trying to get away and went to prison. So one of her daughters was getting jumped and she tried to jump in and trying to get away. She hit one of the girls with her car and she ended up going to prison. That'd be the craziest shit. I always feel like I think as a parent, your emotions is gonna go crazy seeing your kid fight. That's why I would never want to be in that position where I'm watching my kids fight. That's why I said the best thing you could do is be like, don't get into that situation.
Right, but any situation that my kids have gotten into has been very small thus far. And what they tell me is from what they come home or what the school has engaged in is I haven't had any serious issues. So I can't imagine being in a situation where you have to protect your child to that caliber from being jumped. But what issues they have, I don't take them to either. Mm-hmm. Because I've always felt like when you go, now you're putting yourself in a completely different situation and anything can go left. A fight can go completely wrong and I'm not going to be the one to take my children to them, even though I could be proven a point to stand on your own. Because mm-hmm. Like I said, I grew up in the age era where, you meet her at the bus stop and you whoop on her. And if any mama jumps in, my mama was going to jump in. And those was the rules. That was about it. But I have never been that type of person to take my child down to a fight because I know in the real world, things go completely wrong. And I don't want to be responsible for putting my child in that type of situation. Now, if the scuffle happens during the day or at school, you know what I'm saying, and it gets about that, that's all I'm looking for. But if it gets a little bit further than that, and I got to get involved with the parent, then that's completely different. But I am not trying to engage my child and coerce them into a fight. I don't ever want that. Kids fall and bang their head on the concrete. It's something so simple. And now you out here for a fight. I don't want to be.
And not only that, we just saw some in Memphis where we saw two families get into a fight where it started with two young girls. Mm-hmm. The two families got into the fight and the woman pulled out her gun and ended up shooting one of the people at the fight. Mm-hmm. And now she's looking at time in jail.
Right, but you know what? That's why I don't like to fight. And it's not a position of just trying to not be, defensive, because that's the only way that I want to engage in fights.
Well, I never looked at fighting as a pretty girl sport.
No, I don't think it's a pretty girl sport.
I never looked at fighting as a pretty girl sport.
I'm not going to say it's a pretty girl sport. I definitely say it's not a happy girl sport. Because happy girls don't really want to be punching on nothing. They about their other business. They got other stuff going on. They're not angry or frustrated. Every time I see fights on TV or, on the internet, it's usually a bunch of chicks that's just pissed off. And they ready to get their frustrations out and hit on somebody else.
Yeah. What type of people is trying to fight? My nigga, I'm trying to get money.
Right.
If you out there fighting and especially if you gotta fight for your kids.
No.
If you gotta go to a situation in defense of your kids where your kids can't handle their situation or it can't be sat down between teachers or amongst it. If you gotta get to the point where you gotta I'm gonna go beat up this middle schooler with you, that's a problem.
Yeah,
we got like,
that's
bro.
the problem.
That's the perfect example of kids having kids.
Right.
So
the level of maturity
it's not far from behind.
Right. It's not there. And like KJ was saying, you do have people that you have to deal with who are immature parents, because now this other mother is probably feeling some type of way. And now she probably don't want to deal with it as so maturely as she probably could have in the beginning, because now she's irate. Because now you can put your hands on my child, follow my child. Sometimes people we've taken it amongst way beyond having words at this point. This is where things start to get dangerous.
Somebody said that they agree that the bus driver is should be held responsible too. These kids are very dangerous these days. He said that sometimes these buses have bus monitors.
Oh, they have bus monitors. Sometimes they have the cameras.
Usually have a helper, somebody for these reasons.
Right.
And this guy, like I said the first time, the guy was an elderly gentleman.
Right.
So maybe he should have had a helper on the bus.
Right. So
why was he an elderly guy driving the bus? And then not only that, why they don't put these people that's an elderly guy? He should be driving third graders and second graders in school. Right. He should be driving middle school.
Right. But see, that comes down to, it becomes down to but it comes down to discrimination, right? Because you can't discriminate against the elderly. So, but here like you just said, an attendant, there's a way to place them. So open up jobs for attendants, so that if you see Mr. Goodrich has been on this bus for a zillion years and he's an elder driver, maybe you can have a more younger attendant along there that can move a lot faster. He can drive while you can be the eyes to help the student. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And then that also goes back into budgeting. You got to understand, we're sitting here talking about all of these arguments afterwards, but then when we don't go down to the school districts and discuss this, we wonder why we don't have an attendant, because they can't afford to put one on there. Mm-hmm. And now we're discussing safety for our children because he couldn't get up fast enough or close the door, or he didn't do his job. Is how we feel.
Remember, we went many years without even seatbelts.
Right.
They're just starting to put seatbelts in a lot of these buses that carry our children.
Right. So, I mean, the conversation can go for in many different ways. But when these school districts hire these companies, these transportation companies, they hire them for the entire district, and they should do it based off of reputation of being able to protect these children.
Well, now the question is going to be, is a lot of these bus drivers a lot of these bus companies going to have to implement safety protocols, because are they going to lose a lot of contracts with these districts? Because if I'm a school company administration and I'm being sued because of not what happens on my campus, because of something on a bus that I hired, then am I going to start looking for the best bus companies that hire the best securities, have the best?
Yes, it's like any other business. Just like, with all things that go on within these cities and states, there's bidding. And there's a bunch of transportation companies that go and they do other districts. And they go out and they try to look for more districts, the bigger they can, so that they can expand. So if Jones Transportation is not working and we don't feel that you hire adequate people by doing background checks and they're not looking out for the safety of the children in our district, then I don't want you. I want to go to the other district who is actually doing ABC to make sure that things are taken care of and that these are the best people possible in the position to take care of the transportation of our kids. That's it.
So a lot of these bus companies might need to start forming some type of security on their bus, a better security system. Because a lot of these schools is in trouble because it seemed like a lot of dirty work is being taken place after school now on the bus.
Well, I don't know what access the buses have. I do know that they have cameras on them. I know our kids have cameras on many angles on the buses. But just like OnStar, all of the buses should have a direct alert to 911. If something is going on the bus, because who's to say that you can't be in a situation and the bus is in a hostage situation? Mm-hmm. Just like a bank or any other, like I said, OnStar, we have that in your car. So if they don't already have them, you should have the buses directly linked to hit a button and it calls 911 immediately.
And not only that, parents should know what's the protocol when your child is attacked on the bus, when the bus is took over. because that should be no different than hijacking a plane. They're basically hijacking that bus. When you come on that bus and attack somebody's child, that's a form of hijacking.
Right, and being that the woman, if she walked up on there calmly, the bus driver should have said, "Ma'am, you don't have a badge. If you're not wearing a badge out here with these children," that's why they make the children wear student IDs. That's why they make the facilitators wear IDs, so that you know who they are. So he needed to be aware to say, "Hey, you don't have a badge, you can't be on this bus." And when she ran and busted through him, he was supposed to try to make himself the barrier. If he couldn't physically do that, then you do have to question the ability of people that can take this.
Oh yeah. There was no protection from the bus driver for the kid.
Right.
That's his number one duty is to protect the kid. So as an elderly man, he didn't even try to stop the lady or grab him back.
Right. Didn't get knocked down. Whatever happens in that scuffle, you didn't try to do anything. Now, this turned out to be a fight. I don't know what the injuries are on the little girl, but you have to always ask, what if? What if this could have went worse? Everybody would have to stand questions to taking the responsibility and care for the child.
Nah, for real. Nah, it's crazy though. It's fucked up. Like I said, I feel bad for that little girl because I watched her cry on the news, man. This girl cried.
That stuff is devastating.
Like she literally cried.
We grew up, seeing fights and scuffles and things going a little bit too far. But at the end of the day, you got to remember how it takes a toll on people, especially when an adult was there. She said, "I wish I had my mommy." She said when I saw that, that's exactly she said. She said when she saw the little girl mother and her jumping on her, and she was like, "Get her, mom, get her, mom." Mm-hmm. She was like, the only thing she thought of, she wished she had her mother. Right, and what other adult just feels fine whooping on another person's child? Like I'm not that person. I'm not going to hit on your child. You know what I'm saying? In the midst of a child fight, like it's got to be some strenuous things going down for me to jump in. And let's say this again. This was like some middle school girls. We're not even talking about like teenage girls. Now, I know there's some middle schoolers that are bigger than me, but at the same time, I can't see myself hitting on nobody else's child because I don't want to have to deal with the parent. Because please believe you don't want to have to deal with me after you hit up on my child. And not a damn thing you're going to be able to say, and not a district that's going to be able to save you. So that's why I feel like these situations go too far. So when the repercussions come out, deal with them.
Miss Rochelle said the cameras are great, but they do not stop attacks. And I'm into public safety as a career. They need cameras and he said they need cameras for investigative purposes, but they need special trained individuals to work in these buses.
They most definitely do. They have to be capable to be reactive to any type of instance. Just like when we've seen in the schools where you've had attacks, when people come in there armed. And you have the teachers that have gone through these drills and they are aware of what to do in the case of emergencies. Some have even created trap doors, things of that nature.
And let me put you on game. If people wanted to attack our children, what is the most vulnerable place to get it at? The buses.
Right, and transport because they're away from school.
And not only that, because the school, they have informed and implemented ways to protect them.
Right.
You have shelters now in schools.
Right.
You have teachers walking around with weapons. Now, these bus drivers, they are the most less trained people that's transporting your kid. So if we want to do a mass takeover, what do? They all get jobs at bus companies. They take over the bus companies, and now they're doing something to our people know what time it is. That's why I said you gotta peep with game. So if anything was so important, that was the most important. Now we need highly trained people to be transporting our kids. Really highly trained people they just like they have undercovers sitting on the airplanes when they fly, and you don't know, they should be undercovers on buses with kids.
Well, I'm a big advocate for security in schools. Reason being is because I don't feel like enough is done to protect the children in any form. And we can really bring up any form. I mean, whether on school premises, on transportation, on trafficking, on anything when it comes to children. I don't feel like our policies and procedures are really there to protect them the most. I feel like it's very lax. And I've been a parent that's had my children non-homeschooled and in the school institution since they were first born. And I had never had any issues, but I've always kept my ear out and I've always listened to the situations that I've developed around the country at different schools. And overall, I don't feel like it's towards the safety of the children, because there's no reason why we couldn't have someone extra on the buses to protect the children in case of a situation. And if you say, oh, well, it's too much to hire, armed forces or have volunteers or just anybody, it can be volunteers because you don't pay them, just other concerned parents who want to be there, you know what I'm saying, and have the extra time to be on the buses. Whatever